Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Thursday, November 21st. The agenda for this evening is we have some minutes to approve. We're going to share with you an experience that we had at the Library Trustees meeting back in the fall with Anna Byrne, the head of our summer reading program there. There will be a discussion and presentation from Deputy Fire Chief Bob Olson concerning the Heart Safety Community Recognition that Hingham has recently received. Aquarian will be in later for their what has become a quarterly update on their activities. Will be a discussion on the mobile device policy, and then we'll continue the ongoing discussion we've been holding on Selectmen and Town Administrator reports. So with that, have you all had a chance to look at the October 24th minutes?
Yep.
Any comments, revisions, questions? No. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Back in, I believe it was September, the Library Board of Trustees had a presentation from Anna Byrne on the summer reading program. It was not only informative, but I think an example of the kind of activities that the library in many different programs and venues has put forth to be such a successful part of the Hingham operation. So I thought it was so noteworthy. I sit as the chairman, I sit on the Library Board of Trustees. I thought it was so noteworthy that I'd invite Anna Byrne to come in and take a few minutes to give us an update on that experience. So Anna, I'd like you to come on up. You can sit right there if that works for you.
That works for me.
Oh, good.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Certainly our pleasure.
Do I need to speak right into this, or
That's right. That
will it
should,
just pick me up?
It will.
So I have just a little slideshow that I want to show you, and this first slide is, it was one of the winners of our art contest, and before the summer program starts, we always know the theme in advance, so this past summer it was Dig Into Reading, and so we invite the kids in like March or April to submit entries depicting, whatever the theme is, and we pick 3 winners usually to put on our different brochures and things. The state sends us bookmarks and posters, but we like to put the kids' local art on the calendar we pass out to parents and the little reading cards that kids bring back every week. So this one was done by Brianne, who's, I think she's 12 or 13, and so this was one of our winners, and it's just especially cute, so I thought I would bring it tonight to show you guys. So this one, just to start us off, this was our grand family program finale at the end of the summer. It's the Museum of Science, and they do a science magic, like how do some magic tricks work kind of thing. So in this, she's lying on an actual bed of nails, and then she had this mom from the audience come up and break this cinder block with this sledgehammer. And you could have heard a pin drop in the room. Like, I really think the kids were just waiting for her to die because it looked so dangerous, and it was awesome. And
They do that in the Selectmen training course.
they do. So you all know how it works. There's no magic to it. But it was a really good program, and I just like to show this slide because I think it's kind of funny. And the mom looks like she's really trying very hard.
Gutsy mother. Yeah.
So the summer program, it's kind of 2 parts. There's the reading portion, and the kids can come in at the beginning of the summer, and we give them a little reading card, and every week they come back to the library, we stamp their card, and they pick a prize, they pick their books for the next week. And then the other part is we have events throughout the summer. This summer, we had 57 different things in 6 weeks, so it's like 2 or 3 programs a day. It's a lot. And we had, for the reading portion, we had about 625 kids sign up. And that number's been pretty steady for quite a few years, but the thing that's been going up is the amount of prizes that we're giving out. So I think what we're seeing is, rather than more kids joining, we're seeing more kids return weekly or bi-weekly to the library and really stick with it, which, as far as bridging that literacy gap in the summer, that's what we're looking for, is continued reading practice. So when they go back to school in the fall, they're still fresh with their reading skills and up to date and everything like that. This is a picture, actually, this is the son of one of the library employees, came to this program. And this was an animal program, and he's holding just a little snake. And we try and do...
Little one, yeah.
It actually, you know what, I don't think it is a snake. I think it was this legless lizard, which he brought, which I didn't even know was a thing, but apparently it is a super disgusting thing that exists. It looks like a snake, but it's not. But he was very brave to hold it, and he looks very, very pleased. But we try and offer, animals don't necessarily seem like a natural library bridge, but the kids love it, and we get a huge crowd, and we're just looking for things that span a range of interests. So, you know, we of course have books on animals and probably on legless lizards. And so we're just trying to show that there's a lot of different experiences you can have in the library and that there's something there for everyone. It's not strictly, you know, kind of your traditional idea of literacy based. So, this was a puppet show for the younger kids, and it's mostly, I just like to show this slide because the little girl on the right is having the best time ever. I'm not even sure who she is, but she loved this puppet show. And this is kind of a picture of a bigger crowd. So in these 57 activities that we did over the 6 weeks, we had 1,699 people come. So almost 1,700 people in the course of, 6 weeks. 6 weeks come, and that has gone up. In 2011, so 2 years ago, it was 1,371, so it's 300 people more, and that's been a pretty steady pattern the past, well, I've worked there 11 years now, and it's definitely, we're seeing attendance at programs increase every year, which is awesome, what we're looking for. So, this is Maddie and Jeremy, and they came to our paper airplane making craft session, and then they have a contest to see which flies the further. And I like this in contrast with the other one, just to show, we have things that are for large groups and families and stuff like that, and then we have things that we limit the amount of kids, and it's really a hands-on maker program kind of thing where they learn a skill or practice more fine motor skill kind of stuff. This one is Big Ryan. He's a storyteller. We have him every summer. The kids love him, as you can see. They have a really good time, and we always get a big crowd for this one. This was mostly just to show a crowd shot. So for some of these that we don't really put a cap on, the room is capped, so we don't have more people in there than we're supposed to since the fire department's here. But it's great, and he's always really good with them. They're doing a song where they have to move all their body parts to a certain rhythm, and they're actually very good at it. So, and then we also tried this summer to offer programs for all different ages. So this one is toddler soccer. So they come, and it was just practicing your basic gross motor skills. They kick things into the net, they throw things. It was very cute. They follow directions very minimally, but they had a really good time, and it was great. And it's a national company. I think it's national, and they run programs out of the shipyard currently. And so we hired them to come in and do this for 3 weeks. And we had different kids every week. It was great. It was a really successful program. And then on the other end of the age spectrum, this is teens making jewelry. And this one, rather than hire somebody, we actually have a woman on staff who's a really talented jewelry maker, and so she came in for the night and made the jewelry with the kids. So it's nice, besides hiring these people to come in, to be able to utilize, special skills of the staff, because there's lots of people that can do lots of interesting things, and if you can get them to contribute that's great. And this is just because this was my favorite program this year that we did. We've never done it before. It was a stuffed animal sleepover. And so the kids bring their animal in, and they fill out a permission slip, and they leave it and go home. And then the animals, get up to Toy Story style shenanigans in the library overnight. So this was this was my favorite picture. And I wanted to show it besides the fact that it's a very cute program. The volunteers, we have a whole group of middle school and high school volunteers that help us in the school year, but also in the summer. And I don't know what we would do without them in the summer. With the 1,700 people coming through the door, we would be at a loss. And our volunteers are awesome. And they did all this for me. They came in, and I was like, here's 30 stuffed animals. Make it look like they're real. And they did. They took them, and 3 hours later, they came back with a whole camera full of pictures. And this was my favorite, but they were all really good like this. They spent a ton of time duct taping them together so that they would look like they were doing things. And hopefully I haven't just ruined the secret now.
Do you collect the permission slips? Do you save those, maybe give them back to them 20
I gave them
years
back to them. We tied them all around their neck, like a little, we asked them, if they had allergies, if they had a favorite bedtime story. I can't think what else. Some other favorite things. Did they have something, a friend they wanted to sleep by? So it was cute. We made them fill out a whole slip, and then we tied it around their neck, and then they got to come the next day and pick it up. And we gave them a couple of pictures when they picked the animals up, and then we put the rest up on the Flickr page that the library has, so they could go and see the whole evening. So anyway, but that's it. Do you have questions?
Mr. Healy?
I could see my grandson's stuffed animal in that picture.
Can you really? Don't tell him that it's not real.
I know that he enjoyed it very much.
Oh,
so
good.
Good work.
That's very...
Thanks. Yeah, they seemed to really like this. I had some parents come back and say that, the kids kept wondering, I wonder what they're doing now. I wonder what they're doing now. So it's nice when things go the way you want them to. You envision something,
Very
and when
clever.
it falls that way, it's great. So.
Well, I get to enjoy Anna frequently.
Yes.
Yes. And you're always, and the kids are always around you. This is like you're a Pied Piper.
Well, thanks. That's very nice of you to say.
And I love what you did upstairs in the children's area.
Oh, yeah,
Just
thank you.
over the last-
Have you been in after school? It's insane. There's so many kids every single day.
Well,
which is
usually I see them
awesome.
going up and down the stairs as we're, moving the books around.
Yeah.
And it's like, there can't be that many kids in Hingham.
You would think. They come, they just keep popping up.
But I think that's a wonderful credit to you.
Well,
and
thank
your
you.
area.
Yeah, it's great. We've been really happy that all worked out. It's
So
been
keep
terrific.
doing what you're doing.
Well, thanks.
And you got the new reading room for the children's reading room opened up recently? Did I read that?
Yes, that's
what
what
I'm
Irma's
talking
talking
about.
about.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
was
for the young adults, it's technically like the teen area, but off the side there, if you come see it, you
That was
can't.
Bonnie Hobbs helped with
Yeah,
that.
Bonnie helped with that. Yep.
That's
Yep.
right. That's great.
Yeah, we just had the big opening, so it's officially open. Good to go.
That's great. Well, I thought the folks at home would love to see this because, as I said earlier, it's an example of the activities that the library provides, and they are ever increasing. It's just very encouraging that people like you are there to make it come to life, and we thank you for that. But I thought, since the library meetings aren't televised, but that's a separate issue, the fact that you get a chance for the folks at home to see
Yeah.
how these kind of programs are part of what Hingham provides to all of our citizens. And you are so enthusiastic, it's infectious, so.
Well, thank you.
just
And thank you
really
again for having me. This was great.
No, well,
I'm famous now.
Okay, you're off the hook. Okay, thank you
Thanks
very
very
much.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. I think it's just a very, the enthusiasm of it is what catches your fancy. I'll invite our Deputy Fire Chief, Bob Olson, to come on up and talk to us a little bit about the Heart Safety Community Program. And Bob, you can either sit or you want us to go there, that's great. You could introduce your compadres to us.
Well, I'm Deputy Chief Bob Olson with the Hingham Fire Department. 3 years ago, we started a project on increasing the awareness of cardiovascular incidents, diseases, and CPR and defibrillation in the town of Hingham. Our lead man for that project was our firefighter paramedic, Thomas Jacinto, who is here in the dark blue. And he took it upon himself with the department support to ramrod this project and get it done at the tail end of a 3-year effort. We stand here today. To his left, my right, is Derek Condon, who is with the Metropolitan Boston Emergency Services Council, also Region 4, which Hingham falls under Region 4 in the OEMS district. And they're here to present to the town of Hingham the Heart Safe Community Award. Derek, I'll give it to you first.
Okay,
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to thank the selectmen and the administrators, as well as the fire department, for letting me come here tonight. This is actually an honor and a privilege to be able to present this. So on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Public Health, the American Heart Association, and the Metropolitan Boston EMS Council, I'm pleased to be here tonight to recognize the official designation of Hingham as a heart-safe community. Sudden cardiac arrest takes the lives of 250,000 people each year in the United States. An immediate response is essential to save those lives. Cardiac arrest can strike without warning and can happen to anyone, even young adults. The American Heart Association established guidelines for response to sudden cardiac arrest called the chain of survival, and is accepted worldwide. The links in the chain of survival are life-saving, and there are 4 links. Early access to care by using the 911 system, early cardiopulmonary resuscitation or CPR by citizens and first responders, early defibrillation, and early advanced care by paramedics in the field. The Heart Safe Community Program is a cooperative initiative by the Commonwealth's Office of Emergency Medical Services and the Emergency Medical Care Advisory Board's Public Information and Education Resource Committee that recognizes the local efforts to provide a strong chain of survival for residents and visitors of their community. To achieve this designation, Hingham was asked to complete a simple self-assessment and inventory of the community's readiness to provide emergency cardiac care. Your community is being recognized for taking some simple initial steps to greatly improve health care. And as a side note, the steps that this community has taken have been more than simple from reading the application that was submitted. They've gone above and beyond in a lot of ways. Of these steps, conducting community CPR training sessions, having all EMS first response designated vehicles being equipped with AEDs, so police cruisers, fire apparatus, and other first response vehicles, having AEDs placed in public meeting places or gathering places such as town halls, community centers, senior centers, or even private businesses, as well as having advanced cardiac life support or paramedics who are able to be dispatched to all priority medical emergencies. And also having an ongoing process in place to evaluate and to continually improve that chain of survival as they go forward. So congratulations to your community and all the individuals who have strived to make Hingham a truly heart-safe place to live and visit. So I'm pleased to present, Chief, to you a certificate from the Department of Public Health and the region designating you as a heart-safe community, as well as road signs to let the citizens and visitors know of your designation.
Put that on there. Thank you, Ted. Thank you.
Yeah, the road's
There,
on.
there. Terrific.
Do we know where those are going to be put?
No, not yet. And we have 2, and we can get more if we need to. Usually it's at the entrances of town, so we'll pick a couple good spots and try to set those up.
Is it up there?
Thanks.
I guess not. Switched off to another camera.
Yeah. Can you get that? You get that, Bob? Thank you. Well, that's terrific. You know, whatever, and I thank the chief, the deputy chief, and the chief both for leading the effort on this. It must be successful because in the capital budget requests, I see defibrillators. We're going through them. Hopefully, I don't know how long they're supposed to last, but I was talking with the police chief the other day, and he said that this is one of the requests they have for equipment. Do they have a life expectancy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They do.
The town's been really great about allowing us to get the AEDs out there. The prices have come down on the units. There is every few years we replace batteries and pads just as they expire. They usually have a 2 to 4 year shelf life.
Okay.
But the units themselves, they're all reprogrammable now, so as things change in the future, we can keep them updated to our standards. In the town alone, we've equipped the town hall, has, this building, if you include the police side, there's 3 AEDs in the building, including the health center. The DPW barn has one, the transfer station has one, the library has one. Every police car, fire truck, and ambulance are all equipped with AEDs. The ambulances are advanced life support units. We have full cardiac monitors, so we just have the next step up from an AED basically on those. But as far as the CPR education goes, I've been out teaching a lot of CPR classes. Also, Karen Beatty at the Hingham schools, she does the health classes, and she ensures that every sophomore is certified in CPR by the end of their school year. So you figure at the end of every school year, you probably have 2/3 to 3/4 of the school that's certified in CPR, which is a huge resource for us. Every school has an AED. The high school has more than one. So we've got a lot out there. And as like he had said, moving forward, we'd like to continue evaluating ourselves, what we can do better. And that's just something that we'd like to keep up on, is making sure they're all ready to go and people are more than willing to use them.
Well, that's terrific, absolutely wonderful. Irma, you're...
Two things. Tom taught, one of the classes he taught was probably one of his toughest. On Monday night, he taught a part of the CERT team, and we all got recertified in CPR and using the defibrillators. And while we're on the subject, for anyone at home who has bought one on their own, if they're 4 or 5 years old, or within 4 years, you really do need to check on the battery, and you need to check with the manufacturer to see if there's been any recall or updates, or you better check your battery. Did I get it right?
Absolutely.
All right.
You took good notes, good for you.
I did.
Good for you. Well, my wife is CPR trained, so I'm hopeful that she'll be there when I need her. But, I mean, I think this is just one of those programs, and it's nice to, if we could coordinate the purchasing. Every department is looking for more, so I think that's an encouraging.
I think with us, with the fire department, we've already been teaching some inter-department classes. I recently did the library. I did a number of people over there, and I also did the DPW's CPR and first aid courses as well. And I think moving forward, as a department, we'd like to take over some of the training within departments. It's just whatever we can do to move forward.
Well, that's great. That's terrific. Okay, Paul, any questions?
Just a comment. From my time in police work, it was always frustrating for me to do CPR after the person had been there a while, and people just standing around helplessly watching. I think the more people that get trained in this, the better it is for the community as a whole. That's all I have to say.
And I think in the last year, maybe year and a half, within the town of Hingham, I believe we've had 3 CPR saves.
Nice.
With all the public awareness and our units that are out there.
Yes. And the science actually backs up this continued effort to train more and more people in CPR. The earlier people get CPR, the higher likelihood and chances that they will survive.
Oh, that's terrific.
One more thought.
Surely.
The Hingham runs all ALS, which would be advanced life support. We do have a backup ambulance. I think the backup still just says BLS, right? The real backup, the one that we never take out.
It's a drug box away. And it'll be full ALS.
Hingham is very lucky because there are still many, many towns that do not have as many ambulances on ALS as we do. And a lot of towns still only have basic life support. So if you've got the advanced life support with the CPR, you have your best chance of survival.
Good information. Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, thank you again, and thank you for giving us recognition. We very much appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Well done, gentlemen.
Oh, thanks. Congratulations again, Bob.
Thank you.
Ted, is Aquarian here?
I don't know.
Oh, here they are. Here they are. John, you made it just in time.
Oh, we went along.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, that's not their slide.
Sure.
That's not your slide, is it?
Mitigation strategy.
Your timing is perfect. Come on up, have a seat. This is
Stand while I do this? Does that work for you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have to do the lights. Do you have something you're going to go through? I saw some slides there.
Yes,
Betty's got them? Okay, we'll adjust. But let me just introduce you to the folks at home. This is John Walsh. You're Vice President of Operations for the whole thing now, as I understand it, so congratulations publicly for that. And as you all know, we are engaged in a litigation effort with Aquarian, but no matter which way that turns out, it's very important that we have maintained good relations because it's to the benefit of all of our citizens to have that happen. And this is an effort on their part. You have been giving this presentation to a number of our departments and committees, I understand, or some of it.
Correct.
So with that, I'll stop talking and turn it over to you. So, John, thank you.
Thank you very much for having us here tonight. And as Chairman Ruffholm mentioned, we're just giving an update of our operating activities and our infrastructure activities. I know Ronita's just given you a copy of the presentation. We sent it over yesterday, so hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it.
Never got it, really.
I got it this afternoon.
Oh, no, I never got it.
So
Yep.
I'm going to start with a discussion of the supply and demand for water, because there's been some discussion in the community recently about this topic. What I've got, well, first of all, as many of you know, there are several sources of supply in our system. There's 9 active wells, and water also comes from Aquarian Pond, and all of that water is treated at the treatment plant here in Hingham. What I've got shown up here is a graph of the water usage over the last 9 years, and what's shown here is the average usage in million gallons per day used each year. So you can see that we range from 3 to 3.5 million gallons a day on average through the year. And it's been pretty consistent over the last 9 years. It hasn't increased, even though the number of service connections has increased about 1% a year. So we've been able to maintain a level demand on the system. Prior to this, the first year as shown here is 2004. Prior to this period, the predecessor company exceeded what's shown here is the limit, our withdrawal limit is 3.51 million gallons per year. In the late 90s, they exceeded the limit, and they were issued a consent order. We then purchased the company and resolved that issue with the DEP.
Okay, just for the benefit of the folks at home, in 1985, the study committee at that time projected that Hingham would be at over 4 million gallons of usage. I think it was more than that, 4 point something. So that was the projection for 2010, and obviously the work that's been done since then has made that prediction not happen.
Correct.
So that's good.
Right. Now you see the 3.51 million gallon per day limit. You'll notice, though, this is a chart showing our monthly usage, so the average over each month in 2012. And you can see that we do, in certain months, go over the 3.51 million gallon per day limit. That is allowed under the regulation as long as by the end of the year you are under the 3.51 million gallons per day. I show this in part to show that we do have the capability to deliver on a daily basis more than the 3.51 million gallons a day. In fact, we get up close to 6.2 million gallons a day on some days in the summer. We do expect demand to increase in this system. And what I've got shown here is a graph showing our current usage rate, which is about 3.3 million gallons a day on average. And I've got 2 different scenarios for 2030 shown up here. One is with the build-out of the social industrial park on the far right, and in the middle is the scenario without the social industrial park. And you can see in both of those cases, by 2030, we're projecting now that we will be over the 3.51 million gallon per day limit. Now, we are doing things to address this, to make sure that the community has enough water as it continues to grow. The first and probably most important one is to control and reduce unaccounted for water, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We're also going to continue our water balance program. The water balance program requires new developers to offset their expected usage with reduction in current usage. For example, they'll go into an existing building in town and put in new plumbing fixtures that help reduce the usage at that existing facility. We're going to continue our water restrictions In the last 4 summers, we've issued water restrictions in early July through the rest of the summer. That definitely helps reduce demand, and I believe it does help us stay below the 3.51 MGD limit at the end of the year. At some point in time, we may have to look at developing a new source of supply. And that's likely going to be a new well somewhere in town, outside the Weir River watershed, which is a stressed basin, or a highly stressed basin. There are places in town that are outside that basin. And what it would require is probably about 2 to 5 years from the initial planning through finding a site, hydrogeologic analysis, permitting, and construction. The permitting taking the bulk of that time. It's an expensive endeavor, somewhere between $1.5 to $2 million. And we think right now it's more prudent to do the first 3 items on that list than develop a new source of supply. Especially since, as Bruce had mentioned, although we're projecting increases in demand, in the past, that same scenario was projected and it didn't come to fruition. The demand did not increase to, as you had mentioned, 4 million gallons a day.
You know, just as a point of information, I just had to, when I bought the house 20 years ago, what was then the technology for toilets. I just replaced one for another reason, and I can't believe the less consumption of water that results from that. The technology has really helped, I would expect, and that helps all of us when that happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we see that industry-wide, that demand has declined, and I think it's in part because of all the low usage fixtures.
Yeah, Andrew Chapman, your chairman, told us that water consumption nationally is dropping at 1% per year, even though the population obviously is growing. So all of these efforts obviously pay off.
Yes, exactly. We're going to continue working with a couple groups in town, HDIC and the Planning Committee, to make sure that we can further refine those demand projections. We're going to continue working with a couple partners in the Weir River to identify a common understanding of the concerns in particular in the Weir River subbasin, and come up with solutions to some of those concerns. We hope to continue working with the Hingham Water Supply Committee. We've worked with them in the past, and my understanding is they're going to be meeting more often coming up. And we're going to continue providing water conservation education, in particular through the North and South River Watershed Association. They have a program called Greenscapes, and that educates 5th graders in the communities about the environment, water, and water usage. Along with these water supply and demand activities, there's a couple other things we've done in the last year. One of them is watershed management, in particular 2 activities. One was clearing out invasive species in our Fulling Mill Pond, and up in the right-hand corner it shows the piece of equipment that we used to do that. And we also capped 8 monitoring wells on a piece of property on Scotland Street that the town had purchased. Of course, those monitoring wells were drilled down into the aquifer, and we wanted to see those capped to limit any chance that a contaminant could get into the aquifer. I've already talked about the water balance plan and conservation and community education. We've also held 2 environmental forums with our partners from the Weir River watershed to help educate the community about the Weir River watershed, and also hear from them what some of their ideas are for maintaining and improving the watershed. As I promised, I wanted to talk a little bit about unaccounted for water. So most folks equate unaccounted for water to leakage. Let me step back from this a little bit more. When we produce water, we measure it. So we measure what's going out into the distribution system and into people's homes. We also measure the water that's going into folks' homes. So we know what we put into the system, we know what goes into people's homes. We also have a good idea of the amount of water we use for things like flushing. We open a hydrant and we do monitor the amount of water that we're pulling from that hydrant. Then there's another category of water that we refer to as unaccounted for water. And those categories are shown up here. It's leaks in both mains and service lines. And the service lines are, this part of the service line we own, which is in the street, but from the curb to someone's home, they own it, so you can have leaks there as well. During main breaks on both the water mains and services, water is lost. We try to estimate that, but sometimes it's difficult to put a good estimate on it. There's unreported hydrant usage, whether it's for firefighting or opening up a hydrant to fill a street sweeper. You also can get errors from meter or unaccounted for water from meter errors. So if our production meters at our treatment plant are reading high, we think we're putting out more water than we actually are. And the reverse is true on customer meters. Customer meters tend to read low over time, and as they read low, it can appear that you've got more unaccounted for water. And finally, periodically, we do find theft. People will bypass their meter. What we're doing to address the unaccounted for water is twice a year in the system, we do leak detection, so we find the leaks and we fix them. We also calibrate all of our production meters once a year, and we're replacing customer meters once every 10 years. And replacing water mains and services, and you'll see that as part of the capital program. Just a little bit about main breaks. This graph shows by month main breaks in the Hingham, Hull, and North Cohasset system. We've had 30 main breaks so far this year. Over the last 4 years, we've averaged 26 to 29 main breaks in the system. So we're right in the same range we've been in for the last couple of years. 21 of the breaks this year have been in the Hull system, which isn't a surprise. It's an older system in general compared to the Hingham system. Switching to our capital program, we plan in 2014 to continue replacing and upgrading infrastructure. The biggest category of work is in water mains. So in 2014, we plan to replace the water main on Lozelle and Free Street from Hornstra Farm, working back toward Main Street. In 2013, we did a portion of East Street and a portion of Union Street. All those projects are replacing an asbestos cement pipe. It's only about 40, 50 years old. It's inferior material, so we've got to get that replaced. As I noted, we're going to continue to replace services. We expect to spend about $144,000 replacing service lines in 2014, and about $225,000 on replacing meters, which again help us with ensuring that we've got a good read on our unaccounted for water.
John, you mentioned the asbestos pipes. I get calls periodically about the health concerns about that. Could you just speak to that a little bit to maybe alleviate people's concerns about the type of asbestos that's in the pipes?
Yeah, so the asbestos cement pipes are lined with cement on the inside, so the water isn't necessarily in contact with the asbestos. And my understanding is that the asbestos, if there is any asbestos, is a concern from inhaling it as opposed to ingesting it while drinking the water. So the primary concern in the water industry with asbestos cement pipes is that they are, it's an inferior material and it breaks. It lasts about 40, 50 years and you have to replace it.
Is there an issue of scour?
No, not necessarily, no.
Are they always charged?
Are they always?
Charged?
Yeah, there's water in all of our pipes and pressurized at all times. You see up here, we plan to spend about $150,000 in the treatment plant this year. And I've got a list of the projects we did in the treatment plant over the last year. We rehabbed our centrifuges, which are how we dewater the sludge. The next two items are switchgear and our generator. We've spent money on both of them to ensure that if power goes out, we always will be able to produce water. We've replaced a couple pumps and rehabilitated and put new equipment in some of our chemical feed systems. And that final note on there is our SCADA system. We've got a 3-year plan to upgrade our, what's called our supervisory control and data acquisition system. It's the computer and control system that monitors and controls the treatment plant. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's called the WICA bill, Water Infrastructure Conservation Adjustment. And I want to talk about it just because I know that it's an issue that's been discussed amongst you all. And also I wanted to clear up a couple things regarding this WICA bill. So that bill is sitting before a committee in the legislature right now. Right now, the rate-making process, in the current rate-making process, we spend money on infrastructure, and then later on, it could be up to 3 years, 4 years later, we go into the DPU and ask to recover the cost of that infrastructure upgrade. And the towns can intervene at that point and weigh in on how they feel about that infrastructure work. But the towns, I think, and you guys can attest to this, sometimes feel like you don't have much of a say because the money has already been spent. The infrastructure has already been built. With the WICA program, and we've got WICA in 2 of the other states we work in. It's in 15 states around the country right now. With the WICA program, we would go into DPU and ask for pre-approval for certain infrastructure projects. A lot of it is water mains, and you can see that's where we spend a fair amount of our money. So the way the process works is we identify priority water main replacements in particular. Then once a year we would file with the DPU. And what we'd file is, for the upcoming 3 years, the projects that we plan to do, the estimated cost of those projects, and I think most importantly, the rate impact of those projects. So the DPU and towns that are intervening can have the opportunity to weigh in on whether they think that we've selected the right projects, whether we're doing enough infrastructure or too much infrastructure repair or replacement, all with the understanding of what the rate impact will be on the residents in the community. So the DPU and intervening towns have a chance to comment, and DPU will tell us either okay, not okay, adjust, and then if they approve projects, after that approval, we construct the projects, and then the following year, we have to file again and show them the work we've done, show them the cost of that work, and ask for a surcharge on the bill. And the surcharge is limited to 5%, no more than 5% each year, and in between our general rate cases, it's limited to 7.5%. Typically, in our other states, we're somewhere between 1 and 1.5% a year, the surcharges. The benefits are improved rate transparency and local collaboration. I know how it works, in particular in New Hampshire where we've got it, and it's just honestly a much more collaborative process when you can sit down with the regulators in the towns before you've spent the money and get their opinion on projects before you spend the money. It does help us accelerate the replacement of aging infrastructure. That's how these programs get started in other states. There was a recognition that the water mains are aging quicker than they're being replaced. It does give DPU more oversight. The pre-approval in itself gives them an opportunity to control what we're doing. It will help reduce water loss, the unaccounted for water, and also service interruptions from breaks. And it will result in timelier, smaller rate increases.
Okay, before you leave that chart, Irma, do you have any questions on this? Yeah.
Do you want, why don't you go first? No, go first. And then I'll follow up.
What's your leakage rate now?
The unaccounted for water is 18%.
And the DPU order was what?
The DPU,
The DPU gave you a charge, or the DEP gave you a charge of a goal that you should be?
Consent order.
A consent order? What was that?
the consent order, I don't recall what was, well, so I didn't deal directly with the consent order.
It's
so I
the
don't
order,
know what
the
number
consent
was.
order is 10%.
Okay.
And you've been at 18% for a considerable period of time. You got down a little bit, and now you're back up again.
I know there
Am
are
I
a
right?
couple of years.
I'm not sure if the consent order says 10%, but I know the DEP mandate is 10%.
10%.
Well, the DEP would, when they issue new permits, so if we went for a new water supply, their goal, I believe, under most permits, is to shoot for 10%. And I think in a number of cases, Blake, you can confirm, they're not saying immediately, they're typically shooting for a number of years out, like 2030.
But this has been something that's been going on because we've been in this high range for a long period of time.
Yeah, and this is.
And you
not
cut your
unique to us.
capital program before your capital program was reduced. This is an increased capital program. You used to be at 800, now you're at 1.4 million.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, I think we're at 1.7 million for next year.
I haven't seen it. Last time you were here, you said 1.4, so that's good. I mean, you're starting to put money back into that. The concern is we have a current program, as you know. Every year, our project engineer issues to all of the utilities our street opening plans, because we have a 5-year plan. So you know when we're going to be doing certain roads and streets, and the purpose of that, obviously, is to coordinate not only the work that you have to do, but the other utilities. Verizon trying to put Fios in, Comcast upgrading their lines, et cetera. The gas companies the same. So we try to coordinate that so that we don't have street openings happening all over the place and nobody can get anywhere. So the only thing I see differently about this is that it affords you the opportunity to bridge that gap between the 3-year hiatus that occurs once a rate case closes and the 3 years or whatever you decide to file again. That's what it gives you, because we already have a coordinated plan. I don't know what this does anything different for us in that regard, except that it gives you the opportunity to get more capital in back. But I was told by your predecessor that the capital, that he was constrained in his capital by corporate, and that he couldn't get any more. Now, has that changed?
No, the only true constraint in capital, and really one of the reasons that I like the WICA program, is every year when we do our capital budgeting, we just did it in the last couple months, we sit down and we figure out what are the needs in the system and how much money can we spend. And one of the outputs from our financial model is the rate impact. So we're looking at what's the rate impact of spending $2 million versus 1.5 million. When I talk about rate transparency, I get to share that through that DPU process with everyone. So you can see the process that we go through. And we're mindful of the rates. So if we trim back our capital, it's because of the potential impact on rates. That is absolutely the case. I went through it this fall. We come up with a capital budget, we look at rates, and we say, is this acceptable? When does this mean we have to go in for a rate increase? And we will trim back sometimes so that we can control rates. The WICA process allows us to share that with everyone, so everyone has an understanding of why the capital spending is at the level it's at.
Well, my assumption is that you would share that with us when you go through the process we have today. I mean, the assumption is that there's a rate impact every time you do capital improvements, right?
There is, eventually, yeah.
In the utility I worked in, Irma worked in, we always knew what the capital impact was going to be on a project. Now, we always knew at the aggregate level what the impact would be, maybe not necessarily for a particular street, but we knew what the aggregate would impact because we kept track of those things, and I assume you do the same thing.
We do.
And that's what I expect. So this just allows you, in my opinion, which is not a bad idea. I'm not disparaging that. It just allows you to get the money sooner. Because we have this plan in place right now where we coordinate, and presumably you're dealing with those areas that need to be addressed when you develop your capital program. I assume you prioritize to get after the ones that are in worse condition.
This allows, I think, for everyone, not just a handful of people, through the DPU as an objective party, to manage that whole information sharing, which is, these are the projects we are proposing. This is why we're proposing them. This is the associated cost, and this is the rate impact. Everyone has that same information, and they can then weigh in on whether or not they think the spending level is appropriate, whether the projected rate increases are acceptable. And one of the concerns that other communities have had over WICA is, well, this means you're going to just increase rates every year. But the reality is that before we do the projects, the towns have the opportunity to say, if you do these projects, your rates will go up in a year by 1.5%. The towns have the option, and the rate regulators have the option to say, we don't want that to happen. So rates only will increase every year if the rate regulator and the communities are okay with it.
So it's theoretically possible, if I'm hearing you right, that we could object to any rate increase and you would still do the work?
No, we only do projects that get approved by the DPU.
Which is not necessarily the town.
Yeah, I do think that because we're going in before we spend the money,
It's a
I think
forewarn-
there's a better opportunity for the town's voices to be heard.
Okay. Irma?
Thank you. I've done a read on the bill, and I find it very confusing and complex, and I know we're under somewhat of a time kind of slot here.
Yeah.
So I was wondering at some point if the chair and town administrator could arrange it, if you all could come back and we could have a segment just on WICA,
Sure.
where what I'd like to hear is, if I step back and want both sides of it, what's in it for the residents? And what's the good side of this? And then the second issue would be, how much control does the town have over the assignment of resources and the work that gets done, so that it folds into our capital, our 5-year road plan, which maybe there's something that needs to be done with the water infrastructure that would change our 5-year plan, like Union Street, and again, Union Street, and probably North Street, by the way. So how much control does the town have in the say there? And then the other thing I found interesting, but I got confused when I read the bill, and I have to tell you, I didn't sit down and do what I usually do, word for word, line for line. Explain to me a little bit more about the improved rate transparency here.
So one thing that I should note about the bill, I agree that there is some language in there that needs to be clarified, because I understand how the bill works, but the language doesn't come across.
Oh, good, because I don't.
We are submitting to the committee that's reviewing this, we intend to submit it tomorrow, revised language to clarify it, and I will definitely share that with you as soon as we submit it to that committee, and I think it would be great if we sat down and we go through it. I think it's a good program, but obviously there's some work here for me to make sure that that's understood, the benefits of it for the town and for the residents.
Because I could read it when I read through it, and my first reaction was, no, this is just another way to get continuing rate increases. But when you go back and try and parse some of the wording, there does appear to have a substantial amount of merit in it, if I'm understanding this, but I found the bill very confusing.
Yeah, I agree. It needs clarification, and we're going to submit those clarifications, and I'll make sure that you get a copy as soon as we send it to the committee.
One last question, and then maybe we'll cycle back. If Paul has questions, then put mine at the bottom. Do we have a water supply issue today? And then what's your vision on a 20-year go forward? How do you see this happening? And what I mean is the supply and withdrawal issue. This has been kicked around, and I've heard it ever since I was on Capitol, or started on Capitol in 2002. So if you could kind of address that after maybe everybody else's questions.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, good.
Do it now.
So I don't think we have an acute water supply issue. I do think we're close to that 3.51 limit. We have been for 10 years. And in the late 90s, the predecessor company went over that limit. So from that perspective, the water supply demand balance is tight in the system. And the solutions are unaccounted for, I think in this order of priority: unaccounted for water, the water balance plan, and conservation. And then the last thing we would look at is a new water supply, simply because it costs a lot of money, and that impacts rates.
Okay. Paul, I saw you writing. Do you have some questions?
I do, actually. Although, with time constraints, I'll just throw them out there for your consideration and invite you and whoever else wants to come to the meeting that we're going to have shortly from the South Hingham Group studying development up there. I'm particularly interested in the new well discussion that you must be having internally as to where that would be, the logistics of that. You indicated that you've analyzed this use by household. I'd be interested in whether or not you're able to quantify the percentage increase of irrigation, water through irrigation systems in the summer. I've noticed the Accord pond level has been dropping late in the season, which I was a bit mystified by seeing, because looking at it last year, it went down in the predictably hot part of the season. It didn't go down that low this year, but in the late summer it did. I don't know why that happened, but it was a bit alarming.
Lack of rainfall, it's the rainfall has been a lot lower this year than in past years.
Okay, and finally, you know, in the time I sat on the planning board, it seemed like the collaboration that you've referred to with us was that we needed to get a letter from you that would allow an applicant to continue with the development, but it seemed like the mitigation that the applicant did was really restricted to just putting in these water-efficient toilets and things like that. And, I mean, I always felt in my mind that the real savings really wasn't in repairing existing systems. I think that needs to be elaborated on in greater detail, exactly what you meant by that.
We require them to submit a plan showing their estimated
Right.
demand,
Right.
and showing what rehab they're proposing, what that will do to reduce demand. And those two things have to balance each other out. So it's not just a promise from, they put together a report that we then review to make sure that we do get a one-to-one gallon per minute offset. And I think the results end up showing up in that 9 years worth of data, where even with growth in the town, we've been able to keep the water withdrawals below 3.51.
Okay, but my invitation stands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, we definitely want to continue, especially in the South Shore Industrial Park,
Right.
because that's the biggest potential new demand. So we want a really good understanding of when that could happen and what the demand. We have an estimate of the demands right now. Roger Fernandez helped us with that. But as that time frame changes, moves closer or further out, and if the demands change, we need to tweak our model to make sure we know when we need to pull the trigger on looking for a new supply.
Why is the permitting cost so high?
The permanent cost?
Yeah, you mentioned $1 million in permitting fees to do a well of some sort?
No, for planning, design, construction, and permitting, all those things. The permitting process is a lengthy process. It does end up costing a fair amount of money, because what you're looking at is the environmental impact of a new well. So if you find a well site, test it, see that you're going to get enough water, the next thing you need to do is you need to evaluate, is withdrawing water from that location going to impact wetlands or a stream? And that can take a fair amount of field work just to make sure that DEP is comfortable that you're not going to impact the environment.
When was the last well permitted?
It's been a long time. I'm trying to think of the last well that went in.
I mean,
3-4
successfully
years.
permitted, or, I mean, didn't you try permitting a well about 8-9 years ago, or was it just your predecessor?
There was a well there was an emergency well that's now an active well, and an active well that's now an emergency well. So they were switched, they were swapped
Where's that?
at Free Street. At Free Street.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you have another question?
One last question. On your unaccounted water, the 18%, is that total unaccounted water, or that's just the leaks?
Total unaccounted for.
Okay. So which the leaks are a part of?
So if 1% leak equates to how many gallons of water?
What 10% is 330,000 gallons per day, something like that. It's the statewide average is around 14%. The DEP target of 10% is a pretty aggressive target. I think it's a worthy target, but it is aggressive. Where there is a level, I don't know if it's 10% or whether it's 12% or 8%, at which it becomes economically infeasible or detrimental to try to get below it. And by that I mean, you could go into a water system and replace $10 million worth of main. That'll probably help you get below your unaccounted for water. But it may not be the most economically beneficial approach for customers. So,
Well, what happens if your wells go dry?
well, that's why you control it.
I mean, you have no way of knowing that those wells are going to feed indefinitely, do you? That's a perennial question that doesn't seem to be answered.
Well, yeah, hydrogeologically, we know that that source of supply. There's a lengthy study that was put together by, it was commissioned by the DEP, by GZA back in 2000. So I think that would support the fact that there's a consistent amount of water coming into the aquifer, and
Still doesn't answer the question that they're going to supply water indefinitely.
I'm confident short of, I would recommend the GZA report.
Well, why wouldn't you pump existing wells harder to meet the volume then, if it can supply water indefinitely?
Because there is a withdrawal limit
Yep.
of 3.51 from the DEP.
Right?
Yep.
Right. Obviously, there's a lot more questions.
Thank you, Mr.
That we, and I think Irma makes a good suggestion. We'd like to talk about this further, particularly because the history here is different. I mean, you're paying a lot more attention. That's good. But your company tried to sell water to Northfield when that was first, Southfield rather, when that was first proposed. So the attitudes of all of us are changing. So I'm happy to see that, and I'm happy that you're going around and enlightening all of the various committees that have an impact on this. That builds good relationships, and I hope the costs of you doing that are not being borne by the ratepayer. I'm sure that's not the case.
No, any activity with our committees, the three folks here, there's no extra cost for us to be going.
And you have a lobbyist on this bill as well. Do you pay for the lobbyist? Meaning, do you pay for it?
Yes.
Okay. Does that mean it's not in the rate case?
Correct.
It's out of the rate
Rates.
case? Okay. That was a question that came up. A citizen asked me that. Okay, well, we'll set up a meeting, and if you can give us that information on changes.
Sure.
We filed, subsequent to the hearing on 2913 last week, we filed written testimony, and when you give us ours, we'll make sure you get a copy in return of our statement.
Okay.
All right? So we'll know what changes you may have addressed some of the issues we raised in our...
Yeah, and that's why we're making the changes, because we heard some of the comments and realized that it was not, the wording was not as clear as it should be.
That's great. Okay.
Out of curiosity, when was the last Water Supply Committee meeting, a joint meeting that you all had?
You want the answer? 18 months ago.
18 months? Well, we're right on top of that, aren't we?
I haven't run.
What, is it the problem on our side?
I'll talk with you.
I'll see you later.
Should I reach out to you as to the meeting time and everything, or to one of your colleagues?
Sure, why don't you reach out to me? Absolutely.
All right. Thanks very much.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it very much. And John, thank you for being visible. That was not always being visible.
Before they leave, I think...
Not
I think
invisible.
Before they leave, I think we have something to congratulate Blake about, and now I can't, you got elected to something?
Yeah.
I want to tell it, the Water Something Something Group.
Now president of Mass Waterworks Association.
Congratulations, I think, right?
I started my 1 year.
That's great.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I saw it in the paper, I couldn't remember.
Yep, very good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, a little bit, not too bad. Ted, the mobile device policy?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. This is from our IT department. We've made some slight changes from the copy we sent to you a couple of days ago. Labor Council just looked at it and made a very few minor corrections. And the policy is intended to address the use of, primarily the use of smartphones. We're now seeing the mobile phones change from the old flips to the smartphones, and they carry with them quite a bit of data. And the policy requires employees to adhere to stricter standards in terms of, what they can do with the phone, notification of the IT department if the phone is missing, requires us, for example, to have passwords on the phones so that if a phone is left unattended, it can't be accessed, because essentially through these phones and through the email system, you can access parts of our computer network, and we want to ensure the integrity of the network. So both Kate and Steve worked quite diligently on this. As you know, they're moving forward with some changes to the email servers and to the content filtering equipment that we use, appliances that we use, and so this is part of their attempt to try to give us better controls on our data network. And like all policies, we ask the board to endorse that.
I had a chance to read it. Have either of you had a chance to peruse it?
Yeah, I read it. I also took a very quick look at Kevin Feely's changes, but didn't really study them because they came in so late today.
They did. They came in late this afternoon. He's been in an arbitration hearing all day, and a lot of it was, just changing either the way the town was structured in the agreement, approval of the management versus just mentioning management.
Did you, do you have a timeline for this, Ted, as to when you wanted to have it adopted?
I think IT would like it adopted as soon as possible.
So since there were some changes, I'm hearing Irma say maybe you'd like some more time to look at this?
They were really, I think, de minimis. I only looked at like the first two paragraphs. Ted, can you elaborate a little bit?
They were extremely de minimis. I don't have the markups right now, so I can't give you the specifics, but they were, I thought, remarkably de minimis. So I know I had a conversation with Assistant Town Administrator Betty Foley. Remarkable that Steve and Kate got it through Labor Council with so very little changes.
One of the things I asked Ted for, and Betty was nice enough to provide, I don't know if she provided it to everybody or just to me, the data collector. The list of people that the town paid for. Right.
I don't think we provided it to the whole board. I know you had
Okay.
asked for that.
You would be disappointed if I didn't ask for more detail, wouldn't you? And I thought this was interesting, and then this ended up in a discussion with Ted and I on how do you decide who gets a mobile device? And I was very happy with the answer.
What was it?
Ask the town administrator.
The town has been very, very frugal for many years with things like internet access, emails. We were much slower than the rest of the world in those areas, feeling that it wasn't as required back in the early parts of those technologies. And the same with phones. We've been very diligent about trying to keep phone usage to a minimum, and really the folks who have phones, or the folks that are employees that have phones that we're paying for, are people that we need to reach at any point in time. And if we don't need to reach them at any point in time, then they don't need a phone. So, people like the police chief, the fire chief, we need to have 24-hour access to them. And so the list is remarkably small, I think you found, Irma, correct?
I was surprised. I was expecting a much larger list. I'm fine if everybody else is.
You okay?
Ready to rock.
Roger. Okay, so you want to entertain a motion, Mr. Healy?
Sure. I'll move to adopt the mobile device policy as written and presented at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Before we get, in your package tonight, they're no longer, in your package tonight, I have asked council, just this is information, to give you copies of a filing that was made in a letter to the chairman of the Telecommunications and Energy Committee, our position on the bill we were talking about with Aquarian. And there is also an update for you. We are in the discovery phase of the litigation, and the discovery required us to file our questions, and that is in your package as well for your perusal. So I didn't want you to not see those before the council submitted them. And I understand we can make available, when we have this meeting, you're suggesting that you can see the copy of their questions. Council advises me that we may have our responses to those questions within the next few days, so you'll have those as well. Okay, before we go to goals, maybe there's some other bills we could, or votes rather, we could take. Ted, on the Community Innovation Challenge grants, maybe you could update us on that?
We have 4 grants that we've applied for. One of them is a second try at the same grant. The Regional Portable Animal Incinerator is an initiative of the police department, and it didn't make the cut last year as they made those decisions, and we're asking for that again. And again, it's, as it says, it's a regional endeavor to help deal with some of the problems we have when we have animals that are killed on the side of the road. The second grant is South Shore Online Permitting, Licensing, and Inspections. The state has been fairly focused on trying to help communities in this area, and we're working with 5 communities within our immediate vicinity to share an online permitting package for the Board of Health and the Building Department. The state would come in and develop the entire package, train us, and our responsibility after the grant would be to just the simple annual maintenance of the package. What's particularly driving this is the desire to have similar computer softwares with other communities. It creates a lot of different opportunities for shared personnel and other issues when we all work on the same aspect. And also it helps the development community that goes in and permits projects, knowing that all the towns are using a similar type software. The third one is Information Technology Collaborative Portal, and this is a state initiative that is fairly broad. I think it covers most of the communities in the region, and this is actually a request from the state for us to participate in their program, which would give access to for communities to technology at the state level. And 4 is something we mentioned earlier to you with our FEMA grant. It's the Floodplain Hazard Mitigation and Community Rating System Program. Hingham has not created a community rating system program under the FEMA flood system, and this provides discounts of anywhere from 5 to 45% on flood insurance premiums. Just to temper people's enthusiasm, there are no communities in New England that get 45%. The targets for us initially would be 10%. I think Hull is at 15% after several years of activity of increasing the work necessary to essentially show FEMA that, and the insurance companies, that we've taken steps to protect people's homes, either seawall repairs, pumps, alarm systems, a variety of things that we can do. And what we're asking the state for in this program is we're going to work cooperatively with Weymouth, who similarly does not have a program in place. Both of us have some waterfront areas that we're concerned about, and we're looking to have someone come in and guide us through the creation of this program and use that as a model to be able to offer it to other communities on how to set up a CRS program, which I suspect a lot of communities will be looking to do if they haven't already done it.
Any questions on any of those grant applications from?
I think these are great. I'm happy you're putting in again for the portable animal incinerator. The regionalization conference that I went to, believe it or not, this was one of the topics that cities and towns, it is an issue, how do you dispose of dead animals? Sorry, that's what they are. And also, there was talk about regional kennels for 2 or 3 cities and towns sharing kennels. But this is great. I didn't realize this was such an issue. I mean, you don't think about it? So I think it's great.
That's good. Paul?
Is this just for dogs? I mean, or for bigger animals?
What do you have in mind?
Horses?
No, horses, deer?
Deer?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of the size limits on
I
animals.
think it does include deer, if I remember originally, because that's the
I think it
serious.
might. I'm not sure about horses. I'd have to look into that. It's a slightly different size.
The application software sounds interesting. Could that be extended beyond the Board of Health to the other permitting?
It is, actually. It's for the building department.
Okay.
Which will include all the permitting departments on the second floor and the Board of
Great.
Health.
Good, good.
That's good. That's
That
good.
sounds-
That's really nice.
That's great. Okay, no further
No.
questions. Irma, would you be kind enough to make a motion on?
I make a motion to authorize the chairman to sign 4 Community Innovation Challenge grants for the following purposes. 1, Regional Portable Animal Incinerator. 2, South Shore Online Permitting, Licensing, and Inspections. 3, Information Technology Collaborative Portal. And 4, Floodplain Hazard Mitigation and Community Rating System, in paren CRS, Program Initiative.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. I would just like to add for your information, yesterday morning on NPR, there was a discussion about the FEMA bill that Congressman Lynch talked about, what was that, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And NPR was stating that despite, how many, I think he said, help me, it was 85 or 100 co-sponsors on that
It
bill?
was a lot.
Well, apparently, according to NPR, that's not enough. So I just make folks aware of that. I don't know what the implications are, but NPR went at great lengths to report that the FEMA revision was perhaps in a little bit of congressional trouble. So I just share that with you. I don't know what it means. There's 3 other votes, if I, while we're on the subject of voting, if I could get those. Ted, the next one has to do with the Back River unit,
Yep.
if you could.
Okay, so the town is required to sign off, or the town is required, the Board of Selectmen is required to vote to authorize the sign-off of the conveyance of the affordable unit from the current owner to a prospective owner. DHCD has vetted the owner and provided us with all of the criteria for them to be an eligible purchaser.
Okay. And there's no issue of ownership or any of that stuff, it's, okay. Okay, Paul?
Move to execute and deliver the eligible purchaser certificate for the conveyance of affordable unit N21 in the Back River development by Vivian Ning to Salam El-Jabati.
Second.
No further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we have a liquor license.
Okay. I move to approve the issuance of a special one-day wine and malt beverages liquor license to Robert Weeks for the artisan wine and coffee tasting to be held at Red Eye Roasters Coffee Lounge, 3 Otis Street, on Thursday, December 5th, 2013, from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m.
second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Healy, could you do the last vote?
Sure. We'll move to appoint Carolyn Nielsen as the Selectmen's representative on the Open Space Acquisition Committee for a 3-year term.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Selectmen's goals. We've had a continuing discussion on these, and Irma, I know you submitted, and Ted told us that you had submitted something to him, and he shared that with us. Thank you for that effort. I asked Ted to, the goals that we're trying to establish are at a higher level than, I think you had more of a defined work plan as to how to get there, which was, I think, extremely helpful to us. But, so, Ted, you've gone through the goals, do you have that in front of us? We have that
I
now?
do. You should have that in your package. Southern Goals 2013-14. I've just listed them out as you've all, each individually have put them
They're
forward.
not, nope, they're not here. I don't have them. That's what I was looking for, yeah. Are they in here? Wait a minute, Paul's got them, so. There we go. We'll get your copy after the meeting.
I know, well, I brought my
I'll read on
own.
with you.
Yeah.
Pardon me? I'll read on.
No, we're fine.
You got it? Are you all set?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the Aquarian water supply, we talked about that, unless anybody has a modification on that one. I don't hear any on that. Tax relief? Any modification on that? Okay. South Shore Industrial Park Development, South Hingham Sewer District.
Yeah, do you want to know what I did there? I thought that was too broad, and what I would
Sure, go
What
ahead.
I would kind of send you to, I passed around Carl Valente's presentation at the fall conference, where the goals were high level, but they did have milestones, not a plan, but milestones along the way. And I kind of found some of these to be too high level. It's like supporting world peace. So in my mind, I broke them down a little bit. Like there's no, to develop a plan for all utilities, that really is a goal, that the plan to do that, or the breakdown, would, in my mind, be pages. And that would not be appropriate for our level.
No, it would not.
But the supporting the development, I couldn't get my arms around what that meant.
Well, you know, I have the same problem when we get to the next item on the master plan for field sports. It's
I
the same
understand.
issue. And, yeah, so we're trying to get to goals, not action plans. So, but let me just start with this. I think there's consensus among us that Aquarian is something we're going to pay attention to. Tax relief is something we're going to pay attention to. This South Shore Industrial Park, we're going to do that. And this a master address at field sports, at athletics, and assets in general is an issue. And I think the wording of those we need some work on that.
Okay.
But,
I'm-
right.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think we need to just get it first to the goal level, and then we'll, and I think your suggestion about milestones is a good one. The FEMA floodplain relief, we've got to put action around that, and that's obviously changing around. And the town technology plan, which is the idea of improving our communication, not only among ourselves, but with the citizen, is something that needs some words around it. I think to get to a goal and milestone. So if I could ask you, before you have turkey next week, that you could start to maybe take those, put them into goal format. Is there any disagreement with any of those goals from any of my colleagues in terms of the general concept? Now we're just talking about words and how to get there, and there are issues that are already underway, so I'm not I'm not worried about it. It's just how do you know we got there when we got there? That's really the measurement issue.
And I think that's why I ended up breaking it down, because I understood the concept. I don't disagree with it, but the concept's pretty big. It's like supporting world peace.
Or, I think in...
Piece is good.
Yeah.
World peace is great.
Listen, I don't like to watch TV anymore because that's the last thing that looks like we're headed to. So I think that's what it's around the words. So maybe what we could do is this. Irma, if you could take 4 and 5, since our goal's 4 and 5, and maybe do what you suggested.
I'll work with Ted on it.
And work with Ted. And Paul, if you could do the industrial park and the 3A corridor.
Sure.
That would be good. And then I know Ted's working on the town technology plan. We'll put them into other.
I'll give you something a little bit more of some of the steps that IT has already, focused on.
I kind of take a look at what the school has done. I was very impressed with their technology plan.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, all right, does that get us, so maybe the next meeting we'll have these at a level, they're underway, and that's the important thing.
Great.
Okay. Selectmen reports, or administrator, anything?
Well, I can give you a little segue from your previous discussion about FEMA. We had our meeting with GZA, and we got some preliminary data from them on the work they've been doing, and they feel fairly certain that we will have a very substantial case for a flood map revision application. They've committed to a timeline of December 31st. Prior to December 31st. And the data they see is that a significant number of homes will be removed and/or reduced in severity of area or zone within the flood map based on the data they can see.
Really? That's good news.
And so here's, with the proof that it worked out really well, I invited Otto to sit in on this meeting, and Otto Harling, and he left very happy. At the end, and so he probably understood the data part of it a little even better than anybody else in the room.
That's great, and particularly in view of this uncertainty around what's going to happen, it's important that we get that done sooner rather than later. That's good. That's a good point. Okay, anything else, Mr. Administrator? Okay, Mr. Healy, any updates for us on?
Well, on the flip side of the library end of things, I'd like to thank Mr. Cochran for hosting the presentation on the Tuskegee Airmen. Went to that last Wednesday. I found it pretty informative and very interesting. Great part of our country's history that not a lot is said about. And I also would like to note Kathleen Bennett's article in this week's Journal, I think kind of follows on with your very thoughtful comments on Veterans Day, as well as the commanders, and I commend it to the reading public.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Irma?
A couple things. Picking up on what Paul just said, I'd like to thank Keith German and all the honor guards and our speaker and Bruce for his comments on the Veterans Day service. I thought that was great. And I also want to thank Al Gustavitz for the Linden Ponds segment. They had one of the Army bands, and to say they rocked the house, I wish I'd brought earplugs. They were fabulous, but we were sitting right down front, and they were loud. They were wonderful. He puts on a great show, and the speaker there talked about the residents that had served in the military and their very distinguished careers, and there's some awesome people living at Linden Ponds. Also want to thank again Tom Jacinto for teaching CPR, especially to the CERT team on Monday night. And the CPC has now completed 2 weeks of 2 Wednesday nights, rather extended nights, going through 24 projects this year. And I want to thank all the proponents of the projects who spent the time and produced volumes of information for us. It was very, very helpful. Police Academy. Bruce, I guess you went to the one at noon?
I did the one at noon, yes.
And I did the one yesterday evening, which was class number 46. And congratulations to all those participants. And especially the highlight of the evening for me was the modeling of the available hat, T-shirt, and wristbands you can buy in support of Axl. And this is not Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses. This is the real Axl. This is our wonderful canine.
Yeah.
So there is merchandise that you can buy, so consider him a rock star.
He is.
And lastly, I want to thank the Hingham Education Foundation for the spelling bee on Sunday, which Aquarian did provide the water and the water bottles. And I know the best group there was my 4th grade, who spelled everything. So congratulations to the Hingham Ed Foundation. That was a wonderful, and they filled the auditorium. Every grade filled the auditorium at the middle school. So that's it.
Good, thank you. Okay, let me, no, the Veterans Day, that was a great event, and I thank the Coast Guard Commander for his very thoughtful comments as well. In your package, there are a couple of things that I'm laying out. There's a proposed schedule in December. As you know, December is budget month, and we have that schedule laid out and how it's going to be addressed for your liaison role. Betty has put a copy on your desk so you know the dates. We have some interviews to conduct in December as well for some people who have applied. I asked Betty, and Betty, did you put this in their folder?
I did not.
Okay, I'll get you copies of this. We were talking at the library trustees meeting last night. We got their input for what they expect to spend on capital. So I asked Betty to put together a list for your edification. Before the schools have worked their way through their budget, the outstanding requests at this point for capital, if my math is right, is $3.6 million. Traditionally, we are in the $1 to $2 million range, so that's a big issue that we're going to have to work through, but I wanted you to get your thinking caps on in advance of that, so that that's an issue. And to the CPC, an issue I'd like to tee up for us to consider. A number of projects have gone to the CPC, and at the same time are also applying for funds from the Greenbush Trust. That's both sides, and now that, I understand why that might be, but there's also a third issue, and the third issue is that some people have applied who have applied before and received money recently, and that adds to the extended list and make Bob Curley's job extremely difficult. So I just want to tee that up. I do not think personally that there should be double dipping and for CPC and Greenbush funds. Otherwise, we'll have everybody chasing that $1 that we have, and that's not appropriate. So I'd like you to think about that. So that's why I'm putting that on the table for your consideration. Saturday, I think Betty is going to post a meeting for us Saturday. I don't know who's going or not, but Ray Estes and Greg McCune of the Advisory Committee have invited us for a tour of the middle school as well as the fields, and so I hope you all can be there for that. And is there anything else? We have on December 7th the essay contest at GAR Hall, so I hope your schedules permit you to do that. And then the last thing I have laid out, I asked Betty as well, and she very kindly laid out what the next few months of schedule will be. One thing that we as a need to pay attention to, there are certain boards and committees that are required to come back to us on an annual basis. And you brought it, the Affordable Housing Trust. There are others, the Lincoln School Apartments, the Lincoln Maritime.
Audit Committee.
The Audit Committee.
HCAM.
HCAM. So they owe us, they owe us an update on those things. And so we're going to try and squeeze them in the January timeframe after we get the budget stuff done. So I know that those of you who have to work with that, I just wanted you to put that in your thinking caps as well. Okay, is there anything else, Betty or Ted or anybody?
Did we get them all?
We got them. Okay, so With that, I'd like to wish everyone at home a very happy Thanksgiving. Hope I'm going to go on a diet for the next 3 days so I can do the Roman thing on Thanksgiving Day. And so I hope
I
you
don't
all...
want to go there.
all be safe. Come on, it's a fun thing. That's what it is.
Go there.
That's what we need, a little humor here.
Break out the togas.
Yeah.
Now you're
Now you're really talking. Okay, we're around for that. So I thank you all for that, and hope you all have a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving on behalf of the board. Thank you and good night. Thanks, Bob.
Do you want to take a...
Do we have to go? No, we don't. Okay, meeting adjourned.